This is Real Estate Real Talk, a weekly podcast about real estate industry news that actually matters, hosted by some of the industry's leading agents. Here are this week's hosts.
Get involved, participate and contribute, add to the conversation. I promise you that if you're willing to try something new and go somewhere different, meet somebody you haven't met yet, impact someone, bring your base of knowledge and experience, share it with somebody that may have a different perspective, you'll be amazed how your leadership journey will just naturally progress.
Welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Real Talk podcast. Our guest today is Kurt Thompson, and we'll be talking all things leadership, connection, community, and giving back. Kurt, welcome. Could you share how you got involved with real estate and some of the current positions you're working in now?
Oh, absolutely. So I've been in the business for just under 30 years. I came in 1997. Not to date myself, but the reason I came into the industry was a couple of different reasons. Partially, I had been experiencing real estate from an investor point of view and had interacted with a couple of realtors and thought, wait, hey, that is a great opportunity to be able to positively impact the lives of other people, helping them to buy their home. So that naturally drew me to the business. And then also just some of the incredible things that realtors do. That obviously comes into focus a lot later on, but there's so many wonderful reasons to join. I am what I consider a career realtor. So I came in right after college, and this has been my primary career.
And Kurt, I know you're always actively involved in leadership positions, whether it's with RRC or NAR. Can you tell us a little bit about your leadership background?
I think that my leadership journey started out the way many volunteer leaders' journeys start out, with somebody asking them to sit on a committee. And for me, that was back in 1997, although I'm not trying to date myself, but I was asked to sit on the finance committee for my local association of realtors at the North Central Mass Association. Since that opportunity, I've had the pleasure of being able to serve our members, both realtors and CRSs, at a variety of different capacities, through local president, through state president for the state of Massachusetts, and most recently serving on the board of directors for RRC, which was an amazing experience, as we have some really incredible leaders that are currently serving the members at the national level right now. And on the NAR side of the house, I currently sit on the executive committee, board of directors, and also federal disbursements.
So what originally made you want to get involved with these leadership positions?
Is just a deep-seated desire to have an impact and to be able to improve the industry. So for those that have been in real estate for a period of time, you know that we're always trying to uplift the industry. We're trying to raise the bar on professionalism, making sure that our members are well educated, and then also just from a networking point of view, be able to connect with like-minded professionals from around the country, because that's where we get exposed to some of the best ideas. And I found that one of the best ways to do that was through being of service both to realtors and to CRSs in a variety of different capacities, and having some amazing conversations with my fellow CRSs over the years that have really been kind of the catalyst of a lot of great ideas or innovations, even within my own business.
Is there anybody in your life or in your career that inspired you to take the next step and get involved with leadership?
There are a couple of big names that I could mention, realtors that have had a lot of impact over the years. But I think that sometimes what falls through the cracks is that many times it's the average member. It may not be realized, but just that conversation in the hallway, when you have the opportunity to talk to a CRS that may have just started coming out for celebration or maybe sitting on their first committee. And that's really kind of what moves and inspires and kind of continues to hopefully strengthen my leadership journey, is just knowing that everything we do is for the benefit of our members. And it's those conversations that inspire us. Now, that said, one of my favorite pieces of advice I received from Paula Savard, CRS, who's also been a wonderful mentor to me over the years. And she's indicated that in our leadership journey, many times different leaders will come in and go out as we're walking along that journey. And I've often said this to new leaders coming into volunteer leadership. Many times it's those that are around you, it's the leaders that have come before you that will recognize something in you before you even recognize it in yourself. And the best thing you can do as an aspiring volunteer leader or someone just getting involved is just say yes. Volunteer to sit on that committee, volunteer to be part of that conversation or that mastermind. Come out and experience what the organization has to offer you at a variety of different levels and really start to get to know the people that are like-minded, have very good knowledge and understanding of the industry, and quite frankly, are some of the nicest realtors I've had the pleasure to meet.
A lot of people think of leadership roles as people with big titles or people who are elected. How does volunteer leadership fit into that?
I appreciate that question because I think that there's a lot of different ways that people can get involved in leadership and contributing to the industry and to the association. I love the term micro volunteerism opportunities because there really are so many things. It's not saying, "Hey, I'm going to sign on for a 5-year journey to cycle through leadership." It really can be as simple as, "Yeah, I'll sit on that committee or I'll sit on that PAG, Presidential Advisory Group, and lend my voice to the conversation." That's always what I like to inspire people to do is just raise your hand, participate and contribute to that conversation, irregardless of the level of where it happens. And if somebody's willing to put themselves out there a little bit, get into the conversations, share what they're thinking, I think they'll be very surprised where their leadership journey can take them, especially if after experiencing it, they feel that same fulfillment that many of us do as volunteer leaders, where we love what we do as industry professionals working with clients every day. That allows us to support and to provide for our families. But it's really our ability to engage the industry and work with our fellow peers at the Residential Real Estate Council and with the Realtor organization that really helps support our dreams and fuels our self actualization and fulfillment of what we do in this industry.
So, at what point did you realize what a meaningful difference it could make in your career to be involved with volunteer leadership positions?
I want to say that I realized fairly early in my career what the impact of volunteer leadership could be. For me, I'm part of a very small association of about 350 to 450 people, depending on where the cycle is at. And when you have a smaller association, the impact that just one person can make is significant. And many times it is that volunteer leader either in a leadership role or in a contribution role that can really positively impact the organization. I've seen that at all levels, whether it was local, state, or the national level of the realtor organization. I've seen that in the Residential Real Estate Council. One of the things I was excited about was Richard Waystack, an amazing leader from the New England region. I remember being in a room and having conversations with him before we cut over into the new nationalized model. And as a result, Massachusetts was one of the states that went through a year early. So we could test the new structures and make sure that things were going to work out well for the rest of our CRS members across the country. To have those opportunities to be able to lead in that space or to be able to provide benefit to your fellow realtors by getting things smoother before they have to deal with them is a much rewarding place to be in terms of volunteer leadership and your career. So there's so many different levels you can do it. I just encourage everyone. You don't have to say that you want to be president of, the residential real estate or president of the National Association of Realtors. You just have to want to positively have an impact that will both enrich the industry and also enrich your personal experience while acting in organized real estate.
Are there skills that you've developed through your leadership journey that have translated directly into your role as a realtor?
Oh, absolutely. I always joke with my wife because she's always like, you should have heard how you talked on a stage 20 years ago. I thought it was okay, but apparently nowhere near where it is today. But the reality is by participating as a volunteer leadership, you're going to sharpen so many of those skills. First and most important is collaboration. And we're in an industry where collaboration is huge, whether it's what we do with our clients when we're advocating for them and collaborating with our other peers in the industry to successfully move a transaction from inception to closing, whether it's working on a committee and collaborating with our fellow realtors to be able to get an initiative move forward, or in the leadership cycle to make sure that the organization is moving in the right direction. From a negotiation point of view, you strengthen your negotiation skills. I think the one that probably surprised me the most and surprises most volunteer leaders is the industry knowledge piece. We know how to conduct ourselves in our business, but we don't always realize what it is we don't necessarily know until we're exposed to it. And by being a volunteer leader, you really have the opportunity, whether it's on the advocacy side of the house or whether it's on the member services side of the house, to really be able to experience and understand at a deep level everything that we do to advance home ownership, availability, accessibility, and affordability within housing, or whether it's uplifting professionalism and making sure that our members are well educated, professional, uplifting the code of ethics. When you have to talk to those things and make strategic decisions, you really start to understand them at a very deep level.
It's wonderful to hear that despite, giving extra time away from your business, you're learning so much that will directly benefit and grow your business. And all the knowledge you're gaining from these volunteer roles and being active in your local associations is really paying off. Because I'm sure that's a concern a lot of people have, that volunteering may take too much time away from business. Could you share and expand on an example, perhaps, of how maybe a connection you made within one of these local associations, or maybe there's a lesson you learned that benefited your business and professional growth?
Absolutely. I think that probably, I know this is going to sound a little bit interesting, but probably the one that makes the most difference, in my opinion, for volunteer leaders is you learn very early in the process that it's okay to have an opinion. It is not always okay to share that in social media. And I think that by being a volunteer leader, you learn very easily that we are here to help people and to move initiatives forward, and to always take a pause before saying or doing things that may not be consistent with how you would want to represent yourself to your clients in the future. So that's a critical aspect of that. Volunteer leadership, I think, really just helps to polish what it is you do. And speaking to the time requirement, because I think that was a really important question you asked. The benefit right now is with volunteer leadership, either micro volunteerism opportunities or the fact that technology is so much better these days. A lot of our meetings happen online in a virtual environment, which quite honestly can be just as effective as when we meet in person. There's a lot of flexibility for people to be able to contribute and participate in that conversation and not necessarily need to jump on a plane to do so. The other thing I also love about the Residential Real Estate Council and the National Association of Realtors is a lot of those meetings, when they do happen in person, they happen either at the mid-year legislative meetings or they happen at the annual convention in November. So it's very predictable in terms of when those meetings are going to happen, and really doesn't cause any type of significant disruption to our business schedules as well. It's just something that we plan for. So I think that somebody can get involved in volunteer leadership, can participate at a committee level or at a leadership level. And what they'll ultimately find is it really doesn't take away from their business. It really accentuates it. It deepens their relationships with many people from around the country. It deepens their knowledge level. And most importantly, it just deepens the love and the passion that they have both for their business and for the industry.
To be involved in volunteer leadership positions, are there any background requirements or personality traits or qualities that you think are really necessary?
I always tell people the first and most important thing is just show up. Many times people will excuse themselves before they even show up. And the most important thing is just take that opportunity, even regardless of leadership or committee participation, whether it's a dinner meeting at your local association or showing up for a charitable event. Just show up. You will be surprised how many of those conversations you have really can impact your business and your relationships with other professionals. And then from a committee point of view, the best quality, I think, really is being a lifelong learner and understanding that there's so much more to understand about an issue that our perspective may lend to us at the inception of that conversation. So whenever I try to look at an issue, I realize that I am looking at that issue or that situation not as it is, but as I am in my life experience. And to fully understand what the impacts are, I need to be able to look at that through the eyes of other people that may have a different vantage point, to be able to come collectively to the best conclusions and to be able to move the ball forward on the initiative where it needs to go, ultimately to benefit our members. So I would say show up, be open to knowing that maybe our perspective is not always the direct perspective and there's other views. Be a lifelong learner, understanding that we learn something new each day. And then most importantly, always have the courage to participate and to contribute to the conversation. I've been in rooms where you have 10 people and 9 of them are leaning one direction. And it might be that new voice that throws out that idea that maybe the group had not thought about before and can completely change the direction that decision making is going. So I value every voice in the room whenever I'm having the opportunity to collaborate. And many times those are newer voices that bring some amazing ideas to the conversation.
I think working with all different personalities, all different levels of realtors, I think that's only going to just help everybody, just leveling up your confidence and your ability to work with all sorts of people.
Yeah, so I would say diversity is the juice of our association, regardless of level or organization. And it does lend to some really interesting conversations. I remember when we were implementing core standards a few years back, and at that point I was chairing a small board forum and we were talking about mergers and acquisitions, and I'm in Massachusetts. I can literally drive to 6 other states and get to almost every one of our members, I'd say within 3 hours. And we were talking to local associations that might have been out in South Dakota or Oregon or Wyoming. And they're like, yeah, we're only an association of 50 people, and our next closest board office is 4 to 5 hours away, and you have to go through a range of mountains. So I think that what's important from a diversity point of view to understand is that our perspective, and again, going back to perspective, is always going to be informed by our personal experiences. And our personal experiences are not everyone's experiences. A realtor in Massachusetts or California has a very different experience than a realtor potentially in Oklahoma or South Dakota. And what we have to always do is make sure that we find solutions for the benefits of our members and for the benefits of the association that help all of our members to be able to move forward, uplift their businesses, become stronger practitioners, better professionalism, better education, and find those solutions despite the differences, but actually using those differences to enrich the quality of our answers and our solutions in the end result.
Outside of your work with volunteer leadership positions, could you share about some of the work you do in the community as well?
I do. So I've sat on a couple of different boards. We do stuff with Habitat for Humanity. It's realtor adjacent, so it pretty much is the same housing industry. So we do a lot there. For me, there were 2 organizations I served. One of them was Luck, Luk Inc., which focused on children's and their families to be able to provide support there. I currently chair the board of directors for Gamma, which is the Gardner Athol Area Mental Health Association, where we do a lot of work with substance use disorders and helping those that are seeking recovery, because our belief is that anyone that raises their hand and is looking for help should have access to those resources. So what I love about being in other industries that are not necessarily realtor adjacent is it's similar to what we do is I get more information on areas that may not be as obvious or I may not have as strong of experience in. And I learn more about my community and those that are living, residing in the community so I can be of better service to them both as a realtor and as a fellow citizen.
I love that. I really love to see your heart for the community. And I've seen this time and time again that a lot of realtors are very volunteer focused professionals who have a huge heart for their community. Do you mind elaborating on why you think it's important, even crucial, to be an active member of their community?
Absolutely. So I think that we have a very, very unique industry in that, with our 1.4 million plus members with the National Association of Realtors and that top 2 to 3% that are residential real estate council members or CRS designees, that we literally live in every town, in every community across the country. And part of what we learn from being realtors is we don't just sell houses. It's so much more than houses. I know that tagline gets used all over the place, but it's about helping families into home ownership. The difference that that will have for multi-generational wealth development, funding retirement, funding investments in education. It's just amazing the trajectory difference that a realtor can make by helping someone get into home ownership that hasn't been there before. Or sometimes it's for sad reasons. We may have somebody going through a change of status, either divorce or death, or a parent that may have transitioned, and it's the hardest moment in their life. And they just need someone to be able to come in and assist them through that moment and help with what they need to reach, which is the other side, closure and healing. Because realtors lend very well to those missions, they also care deeply about the communities in which they live and serve. So I think it's a natural segue through volunteer leadership and what we do as realtors to also become more deeply involved in the community, engaging the agencies that are providing work and help and support within our communities, whether it's Habitat for Humanity or whether it's any of the charities that are able to help people up as they're looking for that assistance. That's who realtors are. That's what we do. And I think that our industry, knock on wood, doesn't draw a lot of people that don't care deeply about other people. You can make a buck, but you don't tend to last in real estate long term unless you actually care about people and you understand the importance of those human connections.
So many agents putting forth their time and effort to help their communities, and a lot of them are also donating to our PAC, which helps the future of the real estate profession. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
I appreciate that question. Thank you so much. Advocacy is such an important part of what we do as realtors and also as CRSs because it really does impact our industry. I mean, I know it's an old saying, but if you're not at the table, you're likely on the menu. And we've seen that play out so many times. Even if you looked at how much effort went into HR 6644, which is a 21st Century Road to Housing Act that we should hopefully have signed soon, fingers crossed, there are some incredible bills that are in there that are really going to help us stimulate housing and to be able to get more inventory on the market again to help with affordability, availability, and accessibility to housing. Realtors understand that at a deep level. CRSs, I would say, at a very, very deep level because they're running businesses that are operating at a high level in addition to the volunteer services that they're participating in. And they understand how important these things really, really are, both to the industry and to us as professionals, but more importantly, to homeowners, to the average buyer and seller on the street that these policies make a huge difference for. So that's the one thing I always ask people to do. I know that not everyone will be able to jump on a plane and come down to Washington, D.C. when we have our mid-year legislative meetings. But there's always those opportunities in state to be able to collaborate with legislators. Our PAC is an amazing opportunity to be able to invest in our industry and to make sure that the industry and our association has the resources we need to be able to have those conversations, develop those relationships, and make sure when there's critical issues that are on the table that we have a seat at that table to be able to contribute and participate to the conversation. And just a quick segue on that, because we see this happen so many times. For me in Massachusetts, it was Manel versus Boston Pads LLC, which threatened independent contractor status. I want to say that was around 2015. But in my time in volunteer leadership, I remember when we went through COVID, I was the state president in 2020, in the conversations we were having with the administration to make sure that realtors were deemed as essential employees to continue to be able to get people into housing. Or even most recently, with a lot of the conversations we had with rent control, and we had some of the toughest legislation rolling through Massachusetts, which luckily was just defeated by the court system here. So I'm excited about that. But without RPAC dollars, without people investing in the industry, without professionals that care about making sure that we have good policy and that we're taking care of people, homeowners, and those that are would-be homeowners, a lot of this really bad policy would get through and it would seriously cripple or damage realtors, their clients, the industry. So RPAC is essential. Advocacy is essential. 78% of our members, I believe that the National Association tell us that's really what they want us to be focusing on. And CRSs understand that at a high level. That's why you see such a large percentage of CRSs, both as RPAC investors, also participants in President's Circle, and major investors, because they understand how important that is. So thank you for that question.
And Kurt, you've been in the industry about 30 years now. I'm wondering about what changes you've seen over the decades in the industry.
It's been amazing. So, I mean, from a simple point of view, going back to 1997, that was shortly after we had buyer agency laws starting to come in Massachusetts. So we shifted from a seller-focused, broker-centric model through agent-centric, through consumer-centric. And right now, with what we're seeing happen in technology and I am absolutely excited to see what's going to happen over the next 10 to 15 years. I know that makes some people a little bit nervous, but the reality is one thing will not change, and that is hope and human connection. Most of the reasons why we are engaged by consumers is because they're looking for a partner in confidence to help them through a very stressful and major time, whether it's, birth or death or marriage or a child coming into the world or any of the reasons, relocation for work. These are really heightened emotional situations where they're looking for someone that can come in, understand what's happening, give them hope. So even though the industry always changes and will continue to change, and quite frankly, I think we're going to see way more change over the next 20 years than we've seen over the last 20. The one piece I would always share with realtors is just to maintain that hope and human connection. Find the value in where that piece intersects with your client's needs, and technology can't necessarily step in and be able to bridge that difference. That's where we're going to make a huge difference. Advocacy is one of those areas. The human relationship with our clients is another one, and bringing that expertise and professionalism there. So, what's going to change? I don't know. I can only speculate. I can just tell you I'm excited about it. But the most important thing is for us to stay true to our roots, true to our values as realtors and as CRSs, and to make sure that we're helping people. If that's where we're focusing, we will always have the opportunity to be able to assist people.
I think that really shows the advantages of being a lifelong learner, the necessity to be a lifelong learner. You mentioned these challenges that clients go through and what you help them through, changes in their personal lives, and realtors also face changes with the real estate industry. I think it's so great that some of these associations have education like RRC, and it's helping you to navigate all these different changes. And for new members who may be just joining us or CRSs who are looking to get more involved, what advice would you give them as to how to start with their involvement with the organizations if they're just not sure how to start and where to go?
I think you're absolutely right. And that's a critical piece. With everything that's changing, it really is the education that we get through CRS that's going to help people to navigate that, navigate the changing world, navigate the technology, navigate how to position themselves. The good news is I think we're going to have even more people turning to the Residential Real Estate Council in the coming years, because that's where I've gotten a lot of my information and where I have some of my best conversations with fellow CRSs from across the country. If you're not sure what to do, just show up. That will start everything. I mean, just a quick dovetail story on there before I continue with the answer to the question. One of my business partners got his real estate license, and I made sure within a week of getting licensed that he was at CRS Celebration. I cannot tell you the incredible impact that had both on his connection to the industry, his business, and his journey into real estate by just showing up, participating, contributing, and having conversations. That's really where you want to start. And the network of all the associations throughout the different states is a great place to start. And there's so many different opportunities for micro volunteerism within the local chapters for the Residential Real Estate Council. I said chapters, that shows how old I am. But within the local network for the Residential Real Estate Council, it will give you a great opportunity to connect, engage. I still go out to all of my local RRC events because I want to know who those new and upcoming leaders are. I want to kind of experience what they're doing and how they're viewing the industry and the Residential Real Estate Council and that energy they bring. They just bring an amazing energy and excitement to both learning and to professionalism that's just really, really exciting to see. So, for someone that's just starting out, start with your local network. Show up to the events. If you have a good connection, please consider sitting on one of the committees as a membership chair or finance chair and start to collaborate with your local CRSs at the state level and then come out. I always tell people it's not a progressive event. You don't have to go local, state, national, or local network and then national RRC event. Come out to Celebration. Celebration is my favorite convention of the year, both because of the education and the professional conversations that happen there. But more importantly, it's just a really nice environment to have some great conversation with like minded professionals. So join local, come out nationally, and I promise that there'll be an intersection where you find that comfortable space between the two that you'll want to live as a volunteer or as a CRS member.
And tickets for this year's celebration go on sale the first week of August. So, Kurt, when was your very first celebration that you went to? And I'm wondering if you have a special memory that you could share from a celebration.
I have a ton. I don't know that I have enough time to be able to cover all of my favorite stories from CRS celebrations. I would say if got my designation in 2011, my first celebrations would have probably been sometime around 2014 or 15. For me, it was Orlando. It was Orlando. We were right on the main venues with Universal Studios. There was a hotel that was there. And it just was an amazing event because it was one of the first times I was able to connect and collaborate with my local leadership team, but also experience it from a national level conversation and understand how the national Residential Real Estate Council really was operating and how those pieces were moving. So favorite stories, there's a lot of them. The one thing I love about CRS is they work hard in their businesses. They're good at education. They're great at professionalism. There's a lot of really good professional work that happens at the day. And then in the evening, whether it's a dinner or an opportunity just to have a great conversation, there's some really deep conversations and relationships that develop. And again, lifelong, there are so many CRSs. I can literally pick up the phone and call across the country or place a client with that's relocating into their market or just say, hey, I have this challenge in my business. How have you dealt with that in the past? And you're talking about practitioners that are so giving of themselves that they're just happy to help anyone that's part of that CRS family to be able to do better. We all do better together.
While we're reminiscing, can you think of a leadership position that you've had that was either really surprising or really fulfilling?
I would say all of them. And I know that that's kind of a non-answer, but it really is the truth. Every new leader coming up, I always tell them they're going to have a crisis or a challenge that they could not have envisioned before they stepped into the role. And that also is going to be one of the most amazing moments because they're in collaboration with their leadership team and the other people that they're working with are going to find great solutions. So I've enjoyed all of my roles. I really enjoyed sitting on the board of directors for the Residential Real Estate Council. It's a great leadership team. I like how they cycle the leaders in and out. I like the election process, and we've been blessed to have some really good leaders on the RRC board of directors and in the leadership team. Right now, you have an amazing group of leaders that are in leadership. A lot of them I had the pleasure to serve with on the board, and I'm just so absolutely tickled to be able to see what they do in their leadership year. And it's always a continuation of the direction that the organization is going. I mean, Teresa Pitt's just been absolutely amazing this year being able to collaborate with her. She's an amazing realtor, an amazing CRS, and an incredible leader. So the organization is doing a good job. And I would say probably some of the most fun I've had has been on that RRC board collaborating with our peers.
I'm glad it's so worthwhile. You mentioned briefly, when it comes to any position that you're going to enter, there's going to be some challenges. Is there anything that emerging leaders can do to prepare themselves entering one of these positions?
Best way to navigate is take a breath. And I know that's simple, but yeah, I would say that again, going back to perspective, as a leader, probably the most important thing to know is we always have a preconceived idea around something, or we have a perspective based off of our life experiences or things that may have happened before that point. As a leader, the most important thing is to understand that sometimes just taking a breath in a moment to try to get balance or to be able to see all the way around the issue can really be very helpful to coming up with the best solutions because the first solution may not necessarily be the best. And as I've said, you can have 9 people out of 10 wanting to go one direction, but it's that soft voice of the 10th that may actually help inform the group the most in terms of where that group should go. Now, preparing for leadership, I do believe that each stage is helpful. So I would always encourage someone to start out at their local realtor association in RRC in the local network for their state or region. It's just a great opportunity to be able to start to develop those leadership skills. And also, it's a little bit more forgiving. If there are things I think about some of the mistakes I've made along my leadership journey, and I think that even though I've made some great decisions, you always have to be balanced and know that there's some decisions you could have made better in the moment. But when you do that at a lower level, it allows you to be able to strengthen and to improve your perspective. And that way, when the next item comes across at a higher level, you have a stronger base of experience to know how to react to that and be able to have better perspective around dealing with that issue or that challenge. Now, that said, I don't want new volunteers to think that there's a ton of challenges up here. There really are just not. But there's always incredible opportunities and there's always some challenges happen. And that's everywhere in every aspect of all of our lives. Good things and challenges always happen at the same time. The goal is to be able to positively impact the challenges while enjoying and finding fulfillment in the good opportunities at the same time. And again, doing what we all do, which is improve the lives of our members and help uplift the industry, irregardless of the position we're currently serving in.
Thinking about leadership, service, and involvement, do you have a message that you'd like to send to our members and CRS designees?
Make a difference. I think that many times our members don't really understand how personally powerful they are individually and collectively when they lift their voices and contribute together in an organized manner, how much of an impact they can have. So for leaders, that would be the one thing I would say is, hey, use your personal power, get involved, participate and contribute, add to the conversation. I promise you that if you're willing to try something new, and go somewhere different, meet somebody you haven't met yet, impact someone, bring your base of knowledge and experience, share it with somebody that may have a different perspective. You'll be amazed how your leadership journey will just naturally progress and how rewarding you'll absolutely find it to be. Leadership is incredible. We are in an amazing industry in real estate where we have the blessing to be entrepreneurial, self employed, to be able to determine our own destination and our destiny, bring our businesses to the highest level that our imagination can take us. And with the industry, the ability to be able to positively impact all the different legislation and conduits and local regulations and all the things that impact our business. When you put those together and you use your personal power both to improve the lives of your clients and improve the lives of your fellow realtors and CRSs in the industry, that's where that intersection of greatness happens. And I promise if you do take that opportunity to get involved, when you look back at your life 10, 20, 30, 50 years later, you'll be amazed where that leadership journey has taken you. And you'll be very pleased that you made the decision to take that first step and just raise your hand and get involved.
We've been talking a lot about these opportunities that RRC offers. We need to give listeners some direction where to go if they want to dive in. So all of these opportunities can be found on CRS.com under our Volunteer Opportunities button. And we do have our current committee positions open for 2027, as well as our first vice president and for directors positions open. Applications are open now and they will close July 15th. Kurt, how would you encourage people who might be on the fence about starting their leadership journey with RRC?
And that's an incredible opportunity. I forgot we were right in that window for committee sign up right now. Yeah, definitely do. I'll tell you, one of the experiences I had that really was my best experience from a volunteer leadership or running point of view was when I had to run and campaign against another realtor. Talk about sharpening your skills and improving what it is you do. Those are the opportunities you want. You're not sure of the outcome, and it's the opportunity to be able to get involved and sharpen the saw. Now, in this case, it's just applying for a committee. I love the fact that people have that opportunity and that RRC makes it so easy for them to be able to get involved. And I'll tell you, that's one of the things that even from a local network point of view, I've been thrilled about. Our leadership team was 4 people when we made the transition. When I look at our local network right now, I believe they have over 14 to 20 people involved in all the different aspects that have volunteered to sit on those committees. So please get involved at the local level. Please get involved at the national level. Put your name in, raise your hand, and get involved in volunteer leadership if you haven't already. And I look forward to hopefully having the opportunity to collaborate with you at an upcoming celebration event in the near future as well, which will be announced a little bit later this year, I hear. So that's awesome. Looking forward to that.
Thank you so much for your time, Kurt. I appreciate you sharing your stories and just encouraging the next generation of real estate agents to get involved and make a difference, not only in their associations, but in the real estate profession overall. It's changing rapidly, and to be able to be part of the decision-making process is crucial and important for all realtors.
I agree. It has never been more important for our members to be involved because there's so much change that's coming, and they want to lead those conversations, not react to them. Yeah, so thank you so much. I appreciate your time and the opportunity to have the conversation today. I mean, my hope is that people will just get involved. They're always welcome to reach out to me. You can find me online, Facebook, anywhere. I'm always happy to connect. Connect with me at Celebration, which is always a great opportunity when we get to slow down a little bit. But most importantly, just come out and engage with your fellow CRSs. This really is an amazing industry. If I had one wish, and I mean this sincerely, there are so many of our members, either realtors or CRSs, that don't take that opportunity and don't understand how incredibly amazing and powerful the organization, the volunteer leaders that work in it are. Please be one of those ones that takes the opportunity to get involved and be able to experience that for yourself. It is quite amazing.
Yes, this has been a great conversation. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, listeners, for joining us. We learned so much from Kurt Thompson. See you next time on another episode of the Real Estate Real Talk podcast.
Thanks for listening to Real Estate Real Talk. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, crs.com/realtalk, to your friends and colleagues. Please leave us a positive review wherever you listen to our podcast, and be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous episodes. This has been a Residential Real Estate Council production. Join us next time for another edition of Real Estate Real Talk.